So we have a design team. Wait. In terms of who we are, there is.
You have seen it.
I'm sure you've seen us all around in the building. There's Obi on the left, who is our, and also to my right, who is our UI designer. Chris, who is our freelance UI designer as well. Jess, our delivery manager. Stu, who is also our third and final UI designer. Myself, who is the animator here. Mikey, who is our graphic designer. And Liam, who he sits with us once a week to make sure everything's kind of aligned.
We can't get rid of him. He just comes in.
So in terms of what design actually is, it's predominantly about communication. It's about communicating ideas to our customers, audience, whatever. But depending on the roles we fill, depends on how we approach that. So graphic design is more about the finished product, so therefore it's a lot more flexible, it's a lot more kind of freedom to it, whereas UI design is more customer focused. So it's more concerned with making sure it's accessible to the people who are using it, making sure the designs are suitable for the screens and the devices that people are using. And then animation is kind of somewhere in between. It's obviously to do with movement. It's to do with movement, and depending on what kind of job I'm doing, depends on how I approach that. So we're trying to work our way into getting animation within the UI sides. So now we're in one team. We can actually start influencing each other's work. So, for example, we might have Mikey who creates a big sort of moonshot graphic design project, which is really great. And then it's kind of from there it's up to Obi, Stu, Chris to rein that in, basically, to work out ways of influencing that. So it's more aligned with what the customers want, what they need, more relevant to them, and then I can perhaps look into any animations afterwards. So hands up, who's heard of any of these brands? Of course, yeah, you've all heard of them. So these are actually a list of the brands that we have worked for in our past. So we've done e-commerce websites for Topshop, Entertainer, ASOS, and Graze. We've done a website for MasterCard's multi-currency travel card. And we've done landing pages in 6 different languages for Zendesk. So we've got some pretty good experience under our belts. I'm going to hand you over to Jess now to talk about more stuff.
I'll put him through that. Okay, so what are we doing? We've had 3 OKRs this quarter. The first one is around building design system development. So we already had a design system, but we're trying to build on that and build more foundational tools so that everyone can share them, everyone can use them, and everyone can contribute to it as well, which we'll talk more about in a bit. We've also got pan product UI consistency. So this is all about creating consistency, UI consistency across all of our products, across our websites, our brands, and with a web team that's 140, 50-ish people, I don't know the exact number. This is really important because people are creating everything, loads of things every day. So we want to make sure that we're consistent in what's going out to our customers. And it's all about brand awareness as well. So making sure that the UI that we create is based around our brand and tells the same story. And then the last one is around building and socializing the design process. So basically a combination of the first 2 and making sure that we're telling you all about it, telling you what we're doing. And this is part of it as well. So hopefully you have a better idea of what it is that we are doing in general.
So I'm going to talk about design systems. Here I go again. So I would imagine most people, when they think about design systems, are probably thinking about our colours, typography, layouts, and things like that. UI components that we can share and reuse across all our apps. But rarely do we think about it as the tone of voice that we use, our coding conventions, maybe documentation and the tooling that we create around all these things. Quite nicely summed up is a quote here by Ara. In particular, it was like it includes all of the things, but and more importantly, it's a tool or tool series of tools which allow us to learn, build and grow together. The collaborative approach to that process is something that I think we all need to be mindful of all the time. As Jess alluded to, we've got an absolutely monstrous task in front of us. 250,000+ web pages. SEO couldn't even actually give me a figure. It's more than 250,000. No one wants to count. We've got 150 brands. We've got tens of applications across the whole group, each with different tech stacks, all very widely different things, as well as a huge team. So the bewildering array of considerations goes on to include things like that. If every team is trying to achieve something different, we need all the teams to be acting independently. But how do we maintain some degree of consistency across everything that we do? Equally, how can we ship faster, constantly driving to push more things more quickly? So, how do we scale our design team? I guess one option is to hire more people to do more busy things, or we can build more tools to automate doing things faster and more efficiently. So we already have a system. It works. We're quite pleased with it. There's a monstrous amount of work still to do. Here I'll focus on the brands really quickly. I guess the room's quite split. So engineers in the room will already know that the brands repo is a series of rules basically, but rather than the guidelines that we read and follow, it's actually installable in all our apps. So this set of rules is are there for people to reuse. They're not people to interpret. The crude gist is, if an engineer, if the rules are already installed in the applications, so I'll take Trip as an example, an engineer doesn't need to find our colour purple in order to reference his new thing. He just uses a variable that exists and that will automatically put in the right. Scale that up to hundreds and even thousands of variables, and actually this is quite a powerful system. The other benefit is that if we should change that colour purple, or maybe a spacing variable or a font type or something, we can change that once at the top, and then every application will inherit that change automatically. So, in terms of people using it and taking advantage of it, we'd like to encourage more people to be aware of it, because it creates a common language. So, if people like product owners and testers can start understanding the language of our components, then we can all be singing from that same hymn sheet. In order to do that, Pattern Library is another tool we've built and we've got available to everybody. Pattern Library does two things. It's partly documentation of the components and the rule sets that exist. Partly it's also a tool for prototyping. So we'd love to encourage people. We're doing it more in the team, and we'd love to help people to building prototypes and then come and review that code with us. Come and see the prototypes we've built, review the code, because then knowledge increases, everybody works together, we're all contributing to the same thing. We've got high hopes for more documentation. We've started putting things in just this quarter, but we've got lots to do. We've got ideas about tutorials and workshops coming forward, so if anyone's interested, come and see us. We've got ideas, but it'd be nice to hear what people are struggling with in particular, and we can focus those. Lastly, who's going to benefit from our design systems? Well, it's everybody, obviously. We get great control of all the things. We get a scale, and we get to any influence we have is multiplied across all our applications at once. We're hoping means they need to write less code. It's easier for the reviewing of existing codes, and we're hoping also it's far easier to delete code because you're more confident about the things that you're removing. The whole team benefits from a common language, singing from the same hymn sheet. That I think is all disciplines. Everyone can learn and be a part of that. Prototyping means we can open up discussions faster. We can ship with confidence because our components that we're sharing been tested at a higher level, so we only reuse the same components means that we don't have to be so concerned about retesting the same things over and over again. Beautiful experience for customers, so obviously we want standardised HTML means things are more accessible across more devices and ultimately better performance. So we can ship more, ship faster, ship changes to more things at once. There's less debt, we're all super efficient, and ultimately the business makes more money. Win-win from everybody. That pretty much sums up the section. Over to Jess with some examples of things we've been building with that system.
So, as part of one of our OKRs, we've been committing new UI into brands, which I know that some of you have been using, some of you have been championing us on that, so that's really nice. Some of you in the room. So one of the things that we've created are labels. We've got rid of lozenges, which is a great thing, and we've created labels. So all of these come with documentation on how best to use them, if you need to use them. And they've all been created with accessibility in mind. So everything that we are creating will meet minimum web content accessibility guideline requirements. So yeah, so that's labels. We've also got popovers, which are beautiful. Look at them. So we've also got those. They also meet WCAG guidelines, accessibility guidelines, and there's documentation on those as well, so you know how to use them, when to use them, what the best scenario is to be using them. And we've also created elevations, so created utility classes on this, which means the components can be more flexible, and the drop shadow class changes the amount of elevation that you've got. So again, this comes with documentation. It gives you an idea of how to use them, when to use them. So hopefully we're going to continue on this route and create more stuff that you guys can just pick from there. You can pick a mix, and everything will be consistent regardless of what you use. And spacing as well. Stuart's particularly passionate about this one, so I'm going to hand over to Stu to talk about this.
Yeah, quick note. It's really common all the time. Everybody's, any engineer that's committing code is likely, and there'll be conversations in the pods. People want to move things around, and any UI that anyone's creating, we're going to want to put, can that just move slightly to the left? Should there be a bit more gap between this thing? I'm trying to make more emphasis on this other thing. But because everybody's always concerned with things like spacing, it means we've got absolutely tons of CSS that's just like a minor padding tweak here, a minor margin tweak there, all inconsistently as well, because one engineer might want to do 3 pixels, another one might want 2 EMs, another one might want 20%. So we're just going to standardize some things rather than picking a value at random. We've got a scale now, a scale that can apply to any brand, so and any application. So whichever application you're in, you've got a utility class to get you out of trouble quickly. Yeah, hopefully we are going to encourage more people to be using our utility classes. This is just one example of those.
And then the next thing, which I think is really cool, is something that the guys have been creating, well, they created in one of their project lounges, I think. So these are examples of the mobile booking flow. And these pages have been created using purely HTML and the components within our design system. So there's only one bit of CSS, I think, which is the color of the button. But everything else has been made using our design system. So it just shows you how little CSS you really need to be using, and how consistent you could be making everything that we're creating on our website. So I think this is really cool. Well done, guys, for doing that. Hold on, guys. I did nothing. So. I hand over to Amy to talk about the process.
I've only got one slide. So following on from Stu and just talking about the design system, I just wanted to bring it back and talk briefly about design process and what that looks like at HX. So I think the first point we wanted to make was that we want design at HX to be as lean and inclusive as possible. So we want it to be easy for everyone to get involved without too much procedure and stuff. So I think that really comes down to having just enough constraint to encourage consistency, so that everything feels like it was designed by the same team and built by the same team, and so the customer feels like the same conversation without having unnecessary barriers to your productivity and efficiency. As we've already touched on, we're obviously a very small team compared to the wider product team and engineering teams at the moment, which means that we have to try and scale the impact that we're having on you guys rather than scaling ourselves, making our own team bigger. And Patent Library and the brand system is really the main way that we're going to be doing that, along with some documentation and stuff around that as well. The second point I wanted to highlight was that we're really keen to design how things work, not just how they look. So thinking back to the client examples that we showed earlier on, lots of those projects would have included everything from requirements gathering, user journey mapping, wireframing, different types of research before we get to the UI design, visual design side of stuff. So don't be surprised if you come to us with a brief to redesign one step in a 5-step process or one chunk of a page. Don't be surprised if we ask you whether that should exist at all. Maybe it should be a 2-step process or a 10-step process. We'll try to look at the big picture whenever possible. So I would encourage you to keep your briefs as wide as possible. And thirdly, just to touch on tools and methods that we use for design. We tend to communicate using a range of different methods at different levels of fidelity, for different levels of detail. So that could be anything from a sketch on a whiteboard in a collaborative environment, through to wireframes or high fidelity or high detail mock-ups in Sketch, all the way through to a fully responsive Patent Library prototype. And I think as Stu mentioned, we're trying to do more and more of that so that we get into code as early as possible. Benefits of that, of course, we can start thinking about accessibility right from the beginning, SEO, but it also means that we can get as close as possible to the final product when we hand it over to an engineer. So rather than giving them a picture and expecting them to work out how to build it, we can actually give them a really solid foundation of HTML and CSS to build on top of. Back to Jess, I believe.
Sorry, I'm talking a lot. This is the last one for this one. So just some things for the future. We want to be building more on our design system, and we want to keep going with the momentum that we've had this quarter. We don't know what that looks like yet for next quarter, but we definitely want to keep going with that because I think it's really beneficial to everyone. We want to maintain consistency. A big part of what we're doing is trying to work with the brand teams and make everything consistent as possible, make our brand consistent, make our UI consistent. So we're going to try and keep driving for that. We want to collaborate with you, obviously, you lovely people. We want you involved in this journey with us. God, that was really cheesy, sorry. That just came out. We're going to be focusing on inclusive design and accessibility. Everything now has to meet web content accessibility guideline requirements. So we are really going to be focusing on that. So everything that comes through, there will be a focus on that as well. And for the next quarter, we are going to be supporting some of the bigger business OKRs that we've got as well, which I don't think have been released yet. But yes, there'll be more on that in the next week, hopefully. And that's everything.